Hello and welcome to our thought for the day for Monday the 29th of May, Bank Holiday Monday. Our reading today is from the book of 2 Chronicles, chapter 17, verses 1 to 12. And it's all about King Jehoshaphat, right at the start of his reign after the death of his father Asa. And it's one of those passages that many of us would worry about reading in church, me included, even right now, because it includes a raft of difficult Old Testament names. So let's read the Bible. Jehoshaphat, his son, succeeded him as king and strengthened himself against Israel. He stationed troops in all the fortified cities of Judah and put garrisons in Judah and in the towns of Ephraim that his father Asa had captured. The Lord was with Jehoshaphat because he followed the ways of his father David before him. He did not consult the Baals, but sought the God of his father and followed his commands rather than the practices of Israel. The Lord established the kingdom under his control, and all Judah brought gifts to Jehoshaphat, so that he had great wealth and honour. His heart was devoted to the ways of the Lord. Furthermore, he removed the high places and the Asherah poles from Judah. In the 3rd year of his reign, he sent his officials, Ben-Hail, Obadiah, Zechariah, Nethanel, and Micaiah, to the towns to teach in the towns of Judah. With them were certain Levites: Shemaiah, Nethaniah, Zebediah, Ashahel, Shemiramoth, Jehonathan, Adonijah, Tobijah, and Toban-Adonijah, and the priests Elishama and Jehoram. They taught throughout Judah, taking with them the book of the law of the Lord. They went around to all the towns of Judah and taught the people. The fear of the Lord fell on all the kingdoms of the land surrounding Judah, so they did not go to war against Jehoshaphat. Some Philistines brought Jehoshaphat gifts and silver as tribute, and the Arabs brought him flocks, 7,700 rams and 7,700 goats. Jehoshaphat became more and more powerful. He built forts and store cities in Judah. So when I first read this passage, it was those difficult names that first struck me, as there are so many of them. But then when you read it again, you see why there are so many names listed, as Jehoshaphat is on a mission to teach his people the law of God. I read that at this time the people of Judah were biblically illiterate. They had never taken the time to read, to reflect, or to study God's law. So that law had no way of impacting how their lives were being lived at that time. Jehoshaphat learnt that not only from his father's mistakes, who had allowed his people to turn away from God, but he actively took steps to educate his people and to turn them back to God, away from Baal, away from those Asherah poles. And verse 6 is the central verse for me in this passage, describing Jehoshaphat as having a heart devoted to the ways of the Lord, or in other translations, his heart is described as being courageous in the ways of the Lord. On looking at this verse more closely, I learned that the word translated as devoted or courageous literally means lifted up. Elsewhere in the Bible, when someone's heart is described as being lifted up, they are often becoming excessively or dangerously proud of their own achievements, and this pride and self-reliance often foretells a coming disaster, especially when this is accompanied by great wealth and honour. But this is not so with Jehoshaphat, and he manages to keep his sense of pride centred on the ways of the Lord. He keeps God at the forefront of his mind at all times, and the teaching that he instills in his people then seems to have a remarkable effect on them, and this then extends into the land surrounding. As we read, the fear of the Lord fell on all the kingdoms of the land surrounding Judah, so that they did not go to war against Jehoshaphat. So we've just finished our week of prayer in the church hall at Bentley with all the wonderful prayer stations that so many of you, so many people created. I had the great privilege of helping with some of the school classes that visited the prayer room, and I was able to talk to the children about the Bible, about God, about Jesus and all their teachings. I feel that too many people today are biblically illiterate. They do not have even a basic grasp of even the core teachings at the heart of our faith. When we look at how Jehoshaphat, despite all the power, the wealth and the honour bestowed on him, somehow manages to keep his pride centred in the ways of the Lord, it makes me realise that there just is not enough teaching today about our need to put God at the forefront of our lives. How many of us, living our comfortable lives, reflect on how well we've done in life and how we think it's all down to us? But we know it's not down to us. but thanks to the blessings God bestows upon us. Paul wrote of the need to boast, if boast we must, only in the Lord. So today, may we all be like Jehoshaphat and discipline ourselves so that our hearts are thankful and that they are devoted, that they are courageous to God alone. A prayer. Father, thank you for all that you give us. Grant us the humility to recognise that all good things come from you, and for our hearts to be devoted to you. Amen.